If people are all settled and everything's great, it's almost like it's abnormal and it's not cool. Do you know what I mean? Like people will say, how are you doing? And if you say great, really great, life is so great, isn't it? Like they'll think that person's really phony, or they need to go to their therapist and, get out what's really wrong with them, because there has to be something wrong going on, because otherwise they're not alive on planet Earth. Like you're expected to have a baggage that you have to talk about, and then you know what it is? It allows them to talk about their stuff. So they're talking back and forth, and that's often conversation, the going on about what's wrong in your life, what's wrong in mine, and what's not working, and what's like that. And of course we change the word in the modern age to say, instead of saying I'm stressed out or this is really hard, we've replaced it with it's challenging. That's a new age word. But it's still kind of a complaint about and an anti-flow of energy. It's really challenging. Well, what's the challenge? The challenge is inside of you. The challenge is inside of me. It's going to just keep going on. It's like a river. If you're saying, I'm challenged, I can't get across the river, it's not the river's problem, is it? The river's nature is to flow. And how to get across. So we kind of blame it, or we just lift the challenge onto another entity, you might say. Like I'm being really challenged, say, by my husband or by my kids. So all of a sudden your mind transfers to the kids, like what's wrong with them? Or what's the husband doing now? Instead of, well, how are you receiving the information, and are you reacting to it, and in which way? And so it's really our flow of our mind and our emotional response to things that either makes life challenging, hard, impossible, or on and on and on, or just going with the flow. Want it back from some place else, or putting the challenge out there that is somebody else's problem. If it's the government, if your parents, your programming, the value of the dollar, and on and on and on. And you base your whole life on the ebb and flow of circumstances, and they're changing so fast now. Would everyone agree? So fast now it can make your head spin. If you read Wall Street, if you listen to the news, you find the value of this, the value of that, Congress goes on and on and on, that you can just spin out in worry and in contraction instead of flow. It is a choice, but it's an old conditioning that we've been taught to be conditioned by. So how does one change? Well, we like to think a large part of it is Kundalini Yoga and meditation, that it can help you change. Sustenance that we need. Sustenance when things get hard. And they do for all of us. There's no one exempt. It's called life. And many of our conditioning has almost crippled us into the ground. You're no good, or don't expect. My father used to say, God bless his soul, he was a good man, but he used to say, don't expect too much out of life. Because he didn't know that too much yet. Because he had lived World War I, World War II, Depression, on and on. So he just wanted to give me a thumbs up on what life was all about. So he was doing it in the best way that he could. And I appreciate him to this day, but I had to really fight myself out of that box. The circle's this big. And I just knew it was bigger. And so if you have old beliefs that are running around in your head, and you know they're not based on truth, because truth equals happiness, and happiness equals flow, you see? So that you're able to move with the flow. Something comes, you have a tool that you can move with the flow. Oh well, it's never going to work, or oh well this, or oh well that. I knew this was going to happen. All of our careers, or all of our longings, or maybe what we did all our lives, it's changing now. And how can we go with the flow? Because it's going to keep changing. The river's going to keep running. It's not going to stop and just wait for us to walk across it. So how do we do it? It takes courage, but it takes the technology, almost like a tool. So then we have to take our mind, but we have to get to know our minds before we can even know who rules us. And that takes a clear mind. Clear mind is clear water. It's a flow. That's why I've been doing this now for about 43 years, and I do find success in it, I must tell you. I wish that I had little clips of how I had been over all the years, because then I'm living proof from an insane person to coming up to some kind of sanity. I would just go by my moods. If I got in a bad mood or a bummer mood or a down mood or a mood like that, it'd be like the weather. And I would just say, okay, I can't do anything till it goes away. As if I had no power to get out of it. I was a victim of my own mind and my own emotions. And I used to stay in bed until it went through, till I got through the storm. And then for some God-blessed reason, I would get up and say, okay, I think I can get up today. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6 days. Nothing. I was immobile. But I had no tools. I had no Kundalini Yoga. I had no nothing. I had no therapist. I had nobody to talk to. It was just what I think we did in the 60s. You didn't even talk to people when you were feeling like this because you were embarrassed of who you were at that time. So you go into your closet or into wherever, and you like people that get migraines, they go into the dark bedroom till it gets over with. And so I do feel now, after 50 years or more, that we do have more power because we have more tools, and we can see it changing. We can see the world changing. We can see us sitting now here. We're just on cutting edge of change, and it's very, very exciting that you now know you have the power through grace to change your life by changing your mind. And that's the law. That's the law, plain and simple. Change your mind and change your life. Not change your husband's mind or your children's mind or the president's mind or Congress's mind or... No, it's change. Like Gandhi says, be the change you want to be. Be the change you want to see in the world. You have the power. And already I can read you. Some of your mind says no. It's screaming no. Because your mind's a very curious thing. It likes to own you. It's like the boss you're around. It's much easier that way. The mind is almost like not you. Well, it isn't you. It's an aspect of you, but it's not you. It'd be like if your arm were to rule you. I couldn't help it. My arm made me go into the bar. I couldn't help it. My arm put a gun and I had to shoot somebody. And people say, oh yeah, of course, my arm does the same thing. And so we think that's out there, right? That's totally insane. But our mind is an aspect of us too, you see? It's the same thing as the arm, it's the leg. And yet we think it's so very, very special. And it's the only thing going for us is this mind. And that came from, of course, Western history, Western philosophy. You know? And we disconnected from here. We disconnected from our intuition. We disconnected from what? From our truth. You don't have to long so much for something that it makes you so unhappy and so miserable. It was like he was the same as somebody who, if I'm not a millionaire by the time I'm 40, I'm going to, do myself in, or we set all these goals. I have to be married. I have to all this stuff, and we set ourselves up for unhappiness and for no flow. And then again, we take our challenges out upon somebody else. He didn't, she didn't, God didn't. I mean, it's kind of interesting to blame God for everything because, He's not somebody who's going to come back on you and say, yeah, but. So tonight, my prayer is that we will really, really go, and through the meditations and through the Kriyas, that you'll come to a point that you'll say, it's partly surrender. It's aware of your mind when it's ready to go south and be disappointed or give up on something or get mad at somebody. It becomes, that's why Kundalini Yoga is called the yoga of awareness. It wakes this up and takes you back to here. And that's as simple as I can explain it through an ancient technology. Do we have any